Always expect the unexpected. Nigga, you never know when we gonna pop up on this bitch and do a show. You never know. So, been about 2 weeks since I've been on here. Hold up. Which means we got some catching up to do. But for those that do know, I am in a process of moving. He said, "Yo, try to wrap you up for like 15, so I can get home and get my book and read with you." All right, it depends on the motherfucker show up. Let's see what I can do, Rose of Flame. Let's see what I can do for you. Rose of Flame said just got the book, just got the book in, so he's trying to get to the crib so we can all be on one accord versus looking at the screen. But yeah, man, we are back, and we're gonna get into chapter 17 tonight. Was gonna do 17 to 18. I got too much energy. Got to get up early in the morning. I said, you know what? Or everything is on pause. That's love, Rosa Flame. That's mad love. You know it's love, brother. You know it's love. But got a lot to do, man. Still got a lot of packing going on. A lot of packing going on. I'm about to move to another domain. So who knows how long it'll be before I get back on here. It may just be random. As far as the whole setup go. Um yeah, man. Moving to a different abode. New beginnings. New beginnings. New beginnings. I got it. I can't lie to you. Yeah. But that's another story within itself. So hope everybody been doing good, man. You catching this on the replay. Y'all know I'm gonna expect to catch me on a Monday night. It's 10 o'clock somewhere, and it's 12 o'clock somewhere else. God damn it! So today we're gonna get into the creation myths. Um, from Maharashi. Remember, this is Maharashi, not Maharaj. They got two different type of teaching styles, but this is Maharashi. Be as you are, chapter 17. And in this chapter, he deals with creation myths, creation theories, and the reality of the world. And from my understanding, that just come from my understanding, we have a lot of theories. Once we see, here's the thing: once we get to understanding the self and understanding the mind, you know what I'm saying? Get an understanding of the Purusha and Prakriti, or get an understanding of Bina, Hokuma, and Kether and Ain so far. Once we get the understanding of concepts like the tree of life, we understand the mind. And to understand the mind is to understand the matrix. And once you understand the matrix, you get past that part because the matrix wants to keep you trying to understand. SOP, cool. SO motherfucking P. The matrix, aka the mind, wants to try to keep you understanding nature, wants to try to keep giving you something to understand. And the only way outside of nature, what did they tell you the best thing you could do to nature? Submit to it. Not just to nature in itself because it's fucking nature or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But what it is you now have an understanding of that there is nothing to understand. Basically, all we do is entertain theories because the only thing that we 100% know, what's the one thing that we 100% know? Direct experience. That I exist. The pure I. The pure I am. Before we get to talking about the ego, because the ego tricky to slip up in there too. And get to talking about I am consciousness and I am Brahman, which you are. But the ego is tricky with that because that I amness does not have an identity. It is everything. And how are you going to get the mind to understand that? The mind doesn't want to understand where it wants to try to give you things to keep trying to understand. And that's the trick of the matrix, the complexity of this shit. It's going to keep giving you shit. And you with your ego, right? You with your identification system, you with your buddhi or your intellect, you're going to keep trying to figure out fucking equations. You're going to try to keep figuring out theories, conspiratorial or not. Oh shit! He said, "Oh, address I was at was 1717. Damn." And we read chapter 17. So, conspiracy theory or not, the mind is going to try to keep giving you things to understand. Why would it do that? Because it keeps you in it. It keeps you in it. What is Bina? Is Bina not understanding? Somebody who on a y'all know I done forgot. Shit be goddamn it slipping my mind. Is Bina not understanding on the tree of life? Am I right? Zero, peace. Somebody help me out just to make sure, just to clarify for me. Is Bina on the tree of life not understanding? It is. So what does that tell you? And yes, that's a concept, but that concept is pointing at something. Coop said it is. That's pointing at something here. Please understand this. Everybody said they seen 17s. We was just at 7 minutes and 17 seconds. When you put that in the chat, it's 0, and it was 9:17. Ain't that some shit? And Hokeman's knowledge. So, and it depends on which way you look at the what's the name, right? Because you can look at it from a certain standpoint when you're looking at the tree of life. Because I always looked at it, it's like this. Now it may say it comes from now I could be going straight right, but I'm just saying, peep it from this standpoint, that pyramid at the top, that Kether, then Hokmah, then Bina. That line is directly connected to it. I know it's a path from Bina straight on up to Kether. Bina is about understanding. Yo, can y'all hear me? Yo, can y'all hear me? Sounds like y'all can hear me now. I don't know what the fuck happened. But Bina's gonna keep giving you something to understand. Okay. Yeah, cool, sound good. Bina's gonna keep giving you something to understand. And that's when you break away from the illusion. That's when you start to see through the illusionary nature. You don't have to break away from shit, because you are not in the illusion. There's nothing to break away from. There's just something to see through, to realize. That's what this shit is about. That's what it's always been about. Realization. It was never about going up and down the ladders and the steps and taking the steps here and this and this and this and that. That's the mind. Yes, let the mind do that, and it's going to do it. But your thing, who you truly are, as the self, the Atma concept, the Brahman concept, the pure consciousness concept. Your thing has just been to realize Mothra. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, damn, what the fuck Mothra at? Mothra ain't been here. Technically, I ain't been here. It's been goddamn 2 weeks, so forgive me. But this is what this is what it was always about. Realizing. Not climbing up the goddamn Jacob's ladder. Oh. Once you get to that point to realize that there is nothing to understand, in the great words of Maharaj, in the great words of Papi G, in the great words of Bobby Hemmett, you don't get to a point where you get quit thinking you know shit. Because the ego gonna be like, yeah, I know. See, I know this shit. I know this shit. I know. The ego is very tricky. The ego is just something to see through. Something I just posted on Instagram. You got to understand that the ego is used to identify. That's all it's for. It's not bad, nor is it good. But there has to be a useful and appropriate time for the ego. And you have to be able to see through. But if you only think the ego is some arrogance, you ain't going to see through your own shit. You ain't going to see the ego. So I hope Rose of Flame has gotten his book, because we're going to go on and start it. Chapter 17, dealing with creation and the theories of reality. Remember what we said? The only thing that you know for sure is that I am, or that I, before the words I am. Just the feeling of I exist. I've been trying to catch it. Y'all need to do it your damn self. When you catch yourself waking up in the morning, you will catch that I am. I'm talking about like as soon as you come up out of sleep, pay attention. Catch it. Before the identity starts saying, oh, I'm awake. Oh, what time is it? Oh, look at, oh, I need to get up. Oh, my back hurt. Oh, shit, I slept on my arm. Before that starts happening, let's get into it. Sri Ramana had little or no interest in the theoretical side of spirituality. Sir Impeck, my God, what's happening, gang? His principal concern was to bring people to the awareness of the self. And to achieve this end, he always insisted that the practice was more important than the speculation. More important than the speculation. And you know his practice. Run that ego in a loop. And it's going to wear itself out because it ultimately doesn't exist. It's a notion. It's a belief that this self that we think we are, this young black man doing YouTube and chatting with people, getting gas at the gas station, vape smoking, LA Dodger fitted hat wearing ass nigga. That person is an illusion. That self is an illusion. Rosa Flame said, "This flu I got. Why is it not showing the chat? Showing the shit on the screen." But he said, "This flu I got was a challenge to remain unattached from the body in its pain." Dig that. Hold up. All right. He discouraged questions of theoretical nature, either by remaining silent when they were asked, or by asking the questioner to find the source of the I that was asking the question. This ain't no fun spiritual game here. This ain't no figure out what symbol this is. This ain't no figure out, fuck around with these demons and find out. This ain't fun. This will have your head break down in tears once you figure out this ego, this person who you think you are, never existed. It is non-existent. I'm telling you from experience. This shit ain't fun. The other shit funner. You're like, ooh, what's the next? Ooh, what's the next? Ooh, what's the next? This shit gonna have your ass running that ego down into the motherfucking ground. Occasionally, he will relent and give detailed expositions of various aspects of philosophy. So mainly, he wouldn't speak about none about that theoretical shit. Like, you worrying about the wrong shit. You need to figure out who you are. It's his what's her name. But sometimes he'll get into that philosophy. But if the questioners persisted too long with their queries, or if the conversation veered towards sterile intellectualism, he would change the subject and direct the attention of his questioners towards more practical matters. Many of these philosophical conversations center around the nature and the origin of the physical world, since Sri Ramana was known to have views which were totally at variance with the common sense view of the world. Don Tree, what's happening? I feel like I just said what's up to you. At least in my head I did. What's happening, my nigga? What's happening, P? Don Peter Tree. Don Tree P. Okay. As with most other topics, he tailored his statements to conform to the different levels of understanding he encountered in his questioners. But even so, almost all his ideas were radical refusions of the concepts of physical reality that most people cherish. So, let's highlight all this. So he would tailor his answer depending on the level of the person he's talking to, which is what you got to do in it. Well, you don't got to do shit if you don't want to, but which is what a nigga does depending on who he's talking to. You can't sit here, or you can do whatever you want to, and try to break down the most complex shit to a motherfucker who just stepped in the door. You know what I'm saying? As far as spirituality go, you don't. As soon as a motherfucker come in and get to talking about the tree of life, for some people, if they got the right mental temperament, they'll get it. But for some people who just heard about goddamn Area 51 and that people are living under the earth, but I still believe in Jesus Christ and he gonna save us, which nothing is wrong with that. But you have to talk to them at a certain level of understanding. You can't jump in all this false. The mind is false. Only thing that exists is the self. No, God. You can't bust up on them like that. You got to talk to them where they at, right? So, Sri Ramana adopted 3 different standpoints when he spoke about the nature of the physical world. He advocated all of them at different times, but it is clear from his general comments on the subject that he only considered the first 2 theories given below to be either true or useful. Let's see what he's going to say. This right here, Zarion 13, this is Advaita Vedanta, which means non-dual Vedic teachings. And I don't know if you just came to bullshit, so we'll see by the type of shit that you continuously put into the chat. But if you're not, this is called non-dual teachings of the Vedas, the end of the Vedas, the final teachings of spirituality. How some could definitely interpret it, as I would say. The end of your spiritual journey. Welcome. Ajada Vada. It's all right. Stick around. If it sticks with you, you more than welcome. If it don't, that's fine. If it don't, it's fine. Definitely fine if it don't stick with you. Ajada Vada. the theory of non-causality. So this is a Hindu doctrine which state that the creation of the world never happened at all. All right. So look that up if you want to look into that, y'all. I'll do it my damn self too. This is the ancient Hindu doctrine that states that the creation of the world never happened at all. It is a complete denial of causality in the physical world. Sri Ramana endorsed this view by saying that it is the Gyanis' experience that nothing ever comes into existence or ceases to be because the self alone exists as a sole unchanging reality. How does that make you feel, guys? It is a corollary of this theory. It is a corollary of this theory that time, space, cause, and effect, essential components of all creation theories, exist only in the minds of agyanis, which means ones who do not have knowledge. And that the experience of the self reveals their non existence. So let's read that again. It is a corollary. It is a corollary of this theory that time, space, cause, and effect, essential components of all creation theories, exist only in the minds of the ignorant, of the people who don't have self-knowledge. And that the experience of the self reveals their non-existence. Once you have that direct experience of the self, something new for you to think about or not think about. This theory is not denial of the reality of the world, only the creative process which brought it into existence. So be careful when you understand what's being said here. Speaking from his own experience, Sri Ramana said that the Jnani is aware that the world is real, not as an assemblage of interacting matter and energy, but as an uncaused appearance of the self. So remember, when we're talking about illusion, what are we saying? No, the world is real. It's just not real in the way that it appears. It's false in its appearance. That's what Maya does. Give you a false appearance. So it appears that you have this spiritual journey that you have to go on to find what you already are and what you have always been and what you will always be. But it appears that we have a spiritual journey. All right? We're dealing with appearances. We're dealing with the world of appearances. He enlarged on this by saying that because the real nature of or substratum of this appearance is identical with the beingness of the self, it necessarily partakes of its reality. That is to say, the world is not real to the Johnny simply because it appears, but only because the real nature of the appearance is inseparable from the self. Let's read that again. That is to say, the world is not real to the Jnani simply because it appears. So you have that's a loaded statement right there. That's a loaded statement right there. That's a loaded statement right there. Because what are we calling false here? If it appears, it must disappear. So anything that appears has to ultimately, at the end of the day, disappear for the simple fact that it popped up. So it must go back to where it came from. So we call real here that which does not change, that which is always consistent. Keep it real is the analogy we always talk here. Keep it real, keep it the same. If it's not always the same, it is false. So the Gyanis calls this world not real simply because it appears, but only because the real nature of the appearance is inseparable from the self. So the true nature of what appears is the self. Let's see. Consider a narrow bandwidth for human sight. and sound, and then apply that to the mind as well. The witness does not change. All right, Mafra. Facts, Aaron Pick. Facts. Rose of Flame, if you at home, we still on the first page of chapter 17. Page 107. Ain't that some shit? There goes 17 again. So the Agyani, which remember means the one without knowledge. The Agyani, on the other hand, is totally unaware of the unitary nature and the source of the world. And as a consequence, his mind constructs an illusionary world of separate interacting objects by persistently misinterpreting the sense impression it receives. So the one without knowledge, on the other hand, is totally unaware of the unitary nature and source of the world. And as a consequence, his mind constructs an illusionary world of separate interacting objects by persistently misinterpreting the sense impressions it receives. Here's video. For those that are new, we break down that we do not experience reality directly, even on the physical sense. So what builds the illusion? My OG, Brother Panic, taught me repetition, symbols, and trauma. We don't even have to use trauma. We can just say emotion. Repetition, symbols, and trauma. Repetition, symbols, and emotion. So how do you build up this illusionary world? By persistently misinterpreting, by habit. By habit, my niggas. This is a habit. This is a habit. It's a habit. Sri Ramana pointed out that this view of the world has no more reality than a dream, since it superimposes, right? It superimposes a creation of the mind on the reality of the self. It superimposes it. That means it forces it. He summarized the difference between the Jnani and the Agyani standpoint by saying that the world is unreal if it is perceived by the mind as a collection of discrete objects, and real when it is directly experienced as an appearance in the self. Get the difference? How he's saying it's real and it's fake? Same shit I've been saying here. It's an illusion, but it's not. It is, but it's not. Why? Because all is Brahman, all is the self. The illusionary aspect of it is the appearance, and the appearance gives you separateness. The separateness is created by the mind, the ego. Then the intellect tries to put pieces back together. And then the highest aspect of the intellect finally sees and starts putting it together and see, like, hold up, it's coming from one source. But the intellect can't go up there to that source. It has to get left behind. That's when you understand that there is nothing to understand. The ego don't like that. All right. Number 2, Drishti Shristi Vada. Drishti Shristi Vada. If his question is found the idea of a jeta, or non-causality impossible to assimilate, he would teach them that the world comes into existence simultaneously with the appearance of the I thought, and that it ceases to exist when the I thought is absent. Now, this is Maharaj's standpoint. That's why I was like, spontaneously, this world arises when you come out of the dream world. Every day, that's your direct experience. This world spontaneously pops up and spontaneously disappears. Nobody knows that in between state between going into the dream world. You just pop up in the dream world, or you just pop up in deep sleep, or no popping up is happening in deep sleep, but you just pop out of that motherfucker and back into this world spontaneously. So this is the Dristi Shristi Vada. This theory is known as Dristi Shristi or simultaneous creation, and it says in effect that the world which appears to a Agyani is a product of the mind that it perceives. All right? So we've heard this before. It's a product of the mind that it perceives. You create your reality. And that in the absence of the mind, it ceases to exist. In the absence of the mind, it ceases to exist. The theory is true insofar as the mind does create an imaginary world for itself. But from the standpoint of the self, an imaginary I creating an imaginary world is no creation at all. And so the doctrine of Ajata is subverted, is not subverted. Although Sri Ramana sometimes said that Dristi Shristi was not the ultimate truth about creation, he encouraged his followers to accept it as a working hypothesis. He justifies this approach by saying that if one can consistently regard the world as unreal, as an unreal creation of the mind, then it loses its attraction and becomes easier to maintain an undistracted awareness of the I thought. So that's Dristi Shristi. Now let's see Shristi Dristi, the other way around. Gradual creation. All right. Let's highlight this. Highlight this. No face divination. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Cool TJ says Ahamkara is the root of all illusion. It's the root of all of it. Now let's see Shristi Dristi. The last one was Dristi Shristi. So Shristi Dristi or a gradual creation. Let's see. This is the common sense view, which hold the world is an objective reality, right? Governed by laws of cause and effects, which can be traced back to a single act of creation. It includes virtually all Western ideas on the subject of the Big Bang theory to the biblical account of Genesis. Huh? It includes all of that. Sri Ramana only invoked theories of this nature when he was talking to questioners who were unwilling to accept the implications of the Ajata or the Dristi Shristi theories. Even then, he would only point out that such theories should not be taken too seriously, as they were only promulgated to satisfy intellectual curiosity. Well, you know what? That's a good one too, Rosa Flame. The Antakarana, the mind tool. Ooh, are they different? In definition, yeah, we can break down are they different, but are they really different? Yeah, they are really different, but at the same time, you know. So literally, Dristi Shristi means that the world only exists when it is perceived. Dristi Shristi, which right now we're on Shristi Dristi, but literally, Dristi Shristi means that the world only exists when it is perceived. Means that the world only exists when it is perceived. Whereas Shristi Dristi means that the world existed prior to anyone perception of it. Which that's what the Westerner, that's what we've grown to think. Before we was able to perceive it, the world existed and people grew from amoeba, whatever, atoms and goddamn bacteria to goddamn fish to humans, from humans to whatever the fuck we going into. Trav, motherfucking Majors, what's happening? Coop says, yes, by Amkar, I mean that which creates the separation, the, the ego I maker. Facts. So, and then onto Corona, obviously it has a difference in content, but in context, shit, it's doing the same thing. You ain't gonna be able to separate the mind tool from the ego. Because why would I say that? For you to be able to to have a tool, there already has to be a separation created. You see what I'm saying? There always had to be already has to be some distinction of a separation for there to be a tool. But shout out to my nigga Travis motherfucking Majors, dog. Shout out to my dog. What's happening, gang? The devil himself. The one from darkness. My brother in one. So he says here, let's read that one more time. So literally, dristy shristy means that the world only exists when it's perceived. That's another Western theory that we have about the wave and the particle theory, right or wrong, right? And I know people see me talk about because I got some people who inboxed me and asked me about what was it? They asked me about the shit I said about quantum physics. I'm like, yeah, it's a great theory to try to attempt to explain spirituality. And in what regard do I mean by spirituality? Because in spirituality we got these levels, right? So it's an attempt to try to explain these levels or these planes of existence. It's an attempt to try to explain it in a very dense intellectual way, in a very bit by bit by bit. But the way that I view it is you're not going to be able to quantify ultimately what you are, or the ultimate reality, we could say. You're not going to be able to quantify it. You're not going to be able to count it. See, science needs quantifiable things. But that's where the ego stops. That's where the intellect stops. The intellect is going to quantify some shit. And I'm not saying quantifying is wrong and you shouldn't do it. Please don't take that for understanding, but it has its limits. It has its limits incomparable to the limitless. And what you are is limitless. So let's see. Although the former theory sounds perverse, Sri Raman insisted that serious seekers should be satisfied with it, partially because it is a close proximity to the truth, and partly because it is the most beneficial attitude to adopt if one's seriously interested in realizing the self. Why would he say that? Trail said quantify for the logic mind. Zero says yes, observation of the particles, right? I think that's the double slit or the wave and particle test that they did, or observation that they did, right? Sri Rama said insist that seekers should be satisfied with it. What is perverse? Let's see what perverse means, because I don't even know what the fuck that word means. I'm thinking it means like something that sounds sound. Let's see. Come on. Showing deliberate or obstinate desire to behave in a way that is unreasonable or unacceptable. Okay. He said, so although the former theory sounds unacceptable, Sri Raman insisted that serious seekers should be satisfied with it, partially because it came in close proximity to the truth, and partly because it is the most beneficial attitude to adopt if one seriously is interested in realizing the self. Let's go. Let's hop on into it. We just gonna do this chapter, y'all. So we ain't got number like 4 pages left. When we get out of here, I got some more packing to do. Okay. How has Srishti creation come about? Some say it is predestined. Others say it is the Lord's Leela or sport or play. What is the truth? Various accounts are given in books, but is there creation? Only if there is creation do we have to explain how it came about. So he's saying, first of all, he's questioning, hold up, is there a real, are you sure there's a creation? How do you know? You've only heard this through books. Basically, is what he's saying. You only heard this through teachings. You don't have no direct experience of it. But only if there is creation do we have to explain how it came about. We may not know about all these theories, but we certainly know that's what I keep saying. We certainly know that we exist. Why not know the I and then see if there is a creation? That's really his answer. Remember at the beginning of it, it told us, what did he say? Sri Ramana had little or no interest in the theoretical side of spirituality. His principal concern was to bring people to awareness of the self and to achieve this end. He always insisted that practice was more important than speculation. He discouraged questions of theoretical nature by remaining silent when they were asked, or by asking the questioner to find the source of the I that was asking the question. So he really didn't entertain it. But sometimes he would entertain it, depending on the way his elementals was acting that day. Depending on the way Akasha, earth, water, air, and fire was feeling that day. He'll answer it and give it to the level of the person who's asking the question. Right? So he will first tell your ass to seek out, like, we don't know about all these theories, but we certainly know that we exist. Listen, that's the only thing that we truly know, y'all. When you accept that shit, it's like, God damn, that's the only thing that you really do know, that I exist. And you can't deny that you exist for the simple fact that you have to exist to deny that you exist, which is proof of your existence. Okay, let's see. Martha says it's like, it's more like a perpetual cycle of activity and rest, relatively speaking. Okay. Peace. Trav says, boy, that logic mind has infinite questions. The more you realize, the more I really don't give a fuck. It's like, bro, once you done seen so many patterns and know that you can go deeper in patterns and patterns and patterns and patterns and patterns and patterns, bro, the more patterns you see, of course, the more questions you're gonna have to get understanding of. Then when you figure out, like, fuck, I'm sick of this shit. They say self-realize. I forgot who said it. Self-realization is like, or maybe I said the shit. Fuck, I don't know. But like, this shit is really like looking for something. You know how when you looking for something so hard, you like, God damn, I gotta find it. And when you finally give up, say, fuck that shit, bro. I can't find this shit. I lost that shit. I give up on that shit. Boom. That's when it hit you. When you say, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Just like love. When you say, fuck it. Man, I'm done looking for trying to get with these, bro. These motherfuckers out here stupid as this and this and this and that. Boom! Now I'm in a relationship with a woman I love. God damn it. And she about to have my baby. Nigga couldn't have told me nowhere, bro. That's another story, but nigga couldn't have told me back then, boy. It would have, boy. Trav said, I'm grateful to my gnosis for keeping the flame alive. Man, salute to you, my brother. You already know, bro. We done had them conversations, bro. I gotta pass the flame to you as well. Nigga, you lean it over here and light my fire, lean it right back and light yours too, my nigga. We grateful for you for sure. For sure, my nigga. For sure, for sure. You keep that shit P. You keep that shit P and you push me. No diddy. Facts. The observer and the observed are one, then there ain't shit to do or even conceptualize. Once you get to that understanding. Hmm? Peg says definitely. Let's go. So the question here, the question says, in Vedanta of Sri Shankarya, the principle of creation of the world has been accepted for the sake of beginners. But for the advance, the principle of non-creation is put forward. What is your view in this matter? There is no dissolution or creation, no one in bondage, nor anyone pursuing spiritual practice. There is no one desiring liberation, nor anyone liberated. This is the absolute truth. How is that hard to accept? Depending on where you are. You know what? A lot of this shit depends on the mental impressions, bro. If it wasn't for a motherfucking, if let's say this because my nigga here anyway, if it because he was gonna be mentioned regardless. If it wasn't for a motherfucking Travis Majors, if it wasn't for a motherfucking Bobby Hemmett, if it wasn't for a motherfucking Brother Panic, and it wasn't for a fucking Phil Valentine, for me personally, for my ego, for my sense of false self here, for this mind of the illusion, if it wasn't for these motherfuckers outside of my so-called egoic self, if it wasn't for these four motherfuckers, obviously, you know, it's still me doing the work or whatever the case may be. But if it wasn't for these motherfuckers, the mental impression that I received probably wouldn't have pronged me or marinated me to be able to accept this uneasing, very unnerving truth. Unnerving for the ego, unnerving for that sense of who the fuck I think I am. It was very unnerving. I've given the story plenty of times. It's very unnerving. But the right mental impressions and the right mental modifications. It's the same thing with anything. You got to stay consistent. You can't be lukewarm with the shit. If you lukewarm with the shit, you're susceptible to any kind of influence. But I rest my case. A lot of this shit depends on the mental impressions. And when you build up strong enough mental impressions of this nature, what do you think your reality is going to be like? How easy would it be for this to? Okay. But anyway, I digress. Let's go. This sloka appears in the second chapter of Gurapa's Karikya. One who is established in the self sees this by his knowledge of reality. That is his answer. Oh, I can't even forget Seifert Minel. Shit. Fuck am I thinking? Please correct me if I'm wrong. On which one you're right, my nigga. Help you find something you are facts. Then that's all it is, bro. And you know what I'm saying? And that's why, like, before Trav even shouted me out, bro, it was love, because if you paying attention, all he's doing is pointing you back to you. All he's doing is pointing you back to you. There's nothing greater. Literally, there's nothing greater, my nigga. There's nothing greater. Question: is not the self the cause of this world we see around us? Self itself, listen, here's the answer. Self itself appears as a world of diverse names and forms. Remember, appears. You got to get that understanding. It appears. It appears. If you're on Instagram, we are definitely on YouTube. My gnosis. We are definitely on YouTube. So self appears as the world of diverse names and forms. However, self does not act as an efficient cause. Nimitta Karana. It does not act as the efficient cause, creating, sustaining, and destroying it. It does not act as the sufficient cause. It's not doing the creating, the generalized, the generator operating and destroying. Do not ask why does the confusion of self, not knowing the truth that it itself appears as a world, arise. Hold up, let's read that again. However, self does not act as the efficient cause, creating, sustaining, and destroying it. Do not ask. Do not ask what? Why does the confusion of self, not knowing the truth that it itself appears as the world, arise? He said, don't ask that question. Why doesn't the self know that it appears and does all this and then the world arises? Instead, if instead you inquire, to whom does this confusion occur? It will be discovered that no such confusion ever existed. So when you ask that who am I question, when you do his method of self-inquiry, you will come to a realization that there was never any confusion. And confusion is what? Ignorance. Ignorance is what? The greatest sin. That sin is bondage. That's what's got you feeling trapped, because you don't know. And what Mothra just said, what Mothra just said, very simple. The mind is confused, not you. Oh, damn, I'm missing Rosa Flame. Isn't Shiva both stillness of the observer and eternally in dance? So that's the yoga principle. Isn't Shiva both stillness of the observer and eternally in dance with the yoga principle? It's all Trav says it's all perspective, right? From the microcosm or the microcosm, the one appears different. Oh, that was the perfect explanation for that. 100% agree. About perspective, which way are you looking at it? Because, now that goes back. Okay. That goes back to what he was saying up here. Let's find it. What was he saying up here? Damn, what part am I looking for? He said, the world is illusionary. The world is real, but it's false at the same time. You see what I'm saying? So Shiva can appear to be dancing, which is the world of appearances, but also still at the same time. To one, it can look like it's his play. To another, it can look like nothing's actually fucking happening, depending on your perception. Or, where is it at? Damn. Fuck it. This is to say the world is not real to the Jnani simply because it appears, but only because the real nature of the appearance is inseparable from the self. Perfect word, Kuti, is the paradox. That's the paradox of this shit. And the closer what I've noticed, the closer you get to the truth, the more paradoxical it is. That's why I constantly say it's an illusion, but it's not. It's real, but it's not. It's like both of those are true. It depends which standpoint you take it from. So if you take it from the standpoint of consciousness, nothing's happening. Remember, this thing here is about identification. So if you're viewing it from a body mind complex, and I'm not talking to you, Rose, I'm talking in general for everybody to hear me, whoever watched this, right? But if we speak from my name is Joe complex, and I've been on a spiritual journey for 14, 13, 14 years. If I'm speaking from that complex, oh yeah, I see it like this. But if I'm speaking from the identity of pure observer, you would have to literally strip out the ego and all identity and all knowledge that you have ever gained, and then step into that pure observer mode. And when you're in that pure observer mode, you're not going to see it from the same perspective of this dude named Joe who's been on a 13, 14-year journey. There's no way that the person can see it from that observatory standpoint. And that's when we get to talk about beyond understanding. Stupid. Nirvana and samsara and the opposite too. The paradox of this wisdom can really piss people off. Now, facts, because we want a straightforward motherfucking like 1 + 1 = 2. Well, nigga, not really. But yeah, it does equal 2. You're like, what? You know what this bullshit over here y'all niggas talking about? Hi, my name is Joe, and I've been on this I've been a spiritual junkie for the past 14 years, and that's it. Yeah, AA meeting. But how have you integrated that ego? How have you integrated that ego? It seems like there is nothing to do at the end, but those mental samskaras need to be exhausted to understand. Yeah, facts. 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 The identity crisis is a motherfucker. And that's really all that it is. That's really all that it is. What the fuck, y'all? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we got 5 pages though, so hopefully y'all ready. We only 1 hour in. Question: you seem to be an exponent of Advaita doctrine of Advaita Vedanta. Here he goes. I do not teach only Advaita doctrine. I approve of all schools. The same truth has to be expressed in many different ways to suit the capacity of the hearer. Yeah, oh my God. Oh my God. And then I can agree with that too. Rose of Flames. Remember, a paradox is only an apparent contradiction. See what I'm saying? So even when we say it's a paradox, we're saying it's a paradox from the standpoint of somebody who sees themselves as this person trying to understand something. But if you seeing yourself as the self, as the pure consciousness, awareness, then you understand there is no paradox. Because a paradox implies there are two. Right? But for conversational purposes, it's going to have to be. Trav says, I went for a walk today. Long story short, opposite the streets was an old man with a white dog. I immediately thought the fool card. And I thought, damn, what am I? The magician card is a cross. The magician card is a cross. The simulation speaks always, at all times. At all times. At all times. There you go, right there. At all times. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Oh, shit. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Fact, Sarah and Pick. Even calling yourself the observer is the ego masking itself as the observer. Facts. Facts, bro. Facts. And that's why they said Sri Ramana, he'll sit there in silence on your ass. And that's why you'll get a Maharaj and be like, everything that I'm telling you is false. Because these are words. You're prior to these words. That's why I've come to understand that the only truth is fucking silence. The only truth is silence. That's the most constant thing. Once you realize your whole life, the whole universe, existence itself is running on the background of all of that is silence. The background of all of that is silence. 11:11. Okay, come on. All right. I do not teach the Ajata doctrine. I approve of all schools. The same truth has to be expressed in ways to suit the capacity of the hearer. The Ajata doctrine says nothing exists except one reality. There is no birth or death, no projection or drawing in, no seeker, no bondage, no liberation. The unity alone, the one unity alone exists. To such as find it difficult to grasp this truth, and who ask, how can we ignore the solid world we've been seeing all around us? The dream experience is pointed out and they are told. All you see depends on the seer. Apart from the seer, there is no seeing. This is called dristi shristi vada, or the argument that one creates out of one's mind, then sees one's mind itself, then sees what one's mind itself has created. Some people cannot grasp even this, and they continue to argue with the following terms. The dream experience is so short while the world always exists. The dream experience was limited to me, but the world is felt and seen not only by me, but by so many others. We cannot call such a world non-existent. When people argue in this way, they can be given shristi dristi theory. Are you peeping how it's being said here? Right? If one don't like this one here, if one doesn't like, hold up, that one first creates out of one's own mind and sees one's own mind itself, see what his mind as itself has created. You can't take that. A lot of people can't take that. So he'll give you something else. And what's the other one? Where to go? When people argue in this way, they can be given shristi dristi theory. For example, God first created such and such thing out of such and such an element, and then something else was created, and so on. That alone will satisfy this class. That'll satisfy certain people. I wonder why. Their minds are otherwise not satisfied, and they ask themselves, how can all geography, all maps, all sciences, all stars, planets, and the rules governing or relating to them, and all knowledge be totally untrue? To such it is best to say, yes, God created all this, and you see it. So from this standpoint of view, this is what you can give. This is what you would give the people who don't have the right mental impressions and the mental modifications to be able to accept that. To me, that seems way more obvious. But let's not forget, that's because I've had certain mental impressions to be able to tune me to it. What Trav, you say, the updated library of correspondences. That corresponds because of the impressions that I've had. Let's get it. But, question, but all of these cannot be true. Only one doctrine can be true. That's what the questioner says. See, that's how we get to thinking. Only one thing can be true. Well, especially when it comes to theories, because now we're rolling back in that paradoxical way of thinking. All is true and all is false at the same goddamn time. But what does he say? All theories are only to suit the capacity of the learner. All theories. All theories are only to salute the to suit the capacity of the learner. The absolute can only be one. The Vedanta says that the cosmos springs into view simultaneously with the seer, and that there is no detailed process of creation. That is said that the Yugapatat Shristi, or instantaneous creation, this is said to be the instantaneous creation. My bad. It is quite similar to the creations in dream, where the experience springs simultaneously with the objects of experience. Is that, listen, is that not your direct experience? Yes, we have theories of how the world was created, but what is your direct experience? The shit happens like that. When this is told, some people are not satisfied, for they are deeply rooted in objective knowledge. When this is told, people reject it. They're not satisfied because they are deeply rooted in objective knowledge. I need something quantifiable. Give me some quantifiable shit. And I say this because you need to be able to notice when your intellect and your ego is working. It's not even about stopping them and destroying it. You just need to see through it. You need to realize they seek to find out how there can be sudden creation. They argue that an effect must be preceded by a cause. In short, they desire an explanation of this experience of the world, which they see around them. I try to say, what is your direct experience? When you think about it, we really don't know shit. For real. Facts, bro. Cool TJ says facts. The dream analogy is the best for seeing this wisdom. Facts. The dream seems real too. When you're in that dream, it's just as real as when you're in the waking world, bro. There really is no difference between the waking world and the dream world, except for the dream world seems to be shorter. Other than that, it's no difference. And have you noticed when you have deep, impactful, action-packed dreams, you wake up tired? The mind does not get no rest, just like when you awake. The only time the mind gets rest is in deep sleep or in deep meditation. The only time. Other than that, that bitch working. Sure, Pick, I'm with you. Most amazing and the most important of the conversation with the director of the movie. Hey, Trey. We have an explanation for the conscious mind of why things work, but usually it's only a placeholder definition. Usually it's only a placeholder definition. Placeholder. Check what Trev's saying. Why do we breathe air? Who's got that answer? And are you sure that's air you're breathing? Oh, oh shit. I ain't even see zero name as ain't so far. Oh, it's so we can circulate oxygen. Oh, okay, I got it. Then why do you breathe air? So we can circulate oxygen. Hmm. You didn't know that, did you? Hmm. Hmm. Body requires oxygen. But why, man? Because that's how it works. Literally, a car runs on gasoline. Placeholder definition. It doesn't solve the real itch. Facts. And that's what I've just come to notice about this shit. Like, it doesn't really solve the itch that a nigga's trying to scratch. A lot of this shit really don't until we get back to this here. Where is it at? What is your direct experience, bro? What's your direct experience? The fact, the logical mind will ask questions infinitely, just like a child. What is this? And why? 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 But why, mommy? But why, daddy? But why? It starts very early. So I know once my son is born and I start seeing him asking why, I'm understanding that his intellect is building up. But don't worry, I won't be slapping this nigga with no non-duality shit. He's gonna get the same. He's gonna get programming just like other humans get programming around this motherfucker. It's gonna happen spontaneously anyway. But that's another story. He said, "What would you prefer then, Travis?" I prefer not to be on the merry-go-round or questioning. Go good. What? Good. Oh, you probably typo. Good thing the answer is one and simple then. Facts. No facts. Good thing the answer is one and done. It's a one and done. It's a one and done. Let's go, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go low. Okay. So they argue. Hold on. They argue that an effect must be preceded by a cause. In short, they desire an explanation for the existence of the world which they see around them. Then, Shrutis or scriptures try to satisfy their curiosity by theories of creation. This method of dealing with the subject of creation is called karma shishti, gradual creation. But the true seeker cannot be content with yogapat shristi in instantaneous creation. All right. What is the purpose of creation? It is to give rise to this question. I like the way he be answering. It is to give rise to this question. Investigate the answer to the question. And finally abide in the supreme, or rather the primal source of all, the self. The investigators will resolve itself into a quest for the self. The investigation will resolve itself into a quest for the self, and it will cease only after the non-self is sifted away and the self realized in its purity and glory. There's your who am I meditation. There may be a number of theories of creation. All of them extend outwardly. There will be no limit to them because time and space are unlimited. Do you hear that? So niggas can argue all day about how this motherfucker was created. And there will be no limit to them because time and space are unlimited. They are, however, only in the mind. If you see the mind, time and space are transcended and the self is realized. So it's just asking you to see the mind and see it for what it is. When you see the mind, when you see the ego, when you see the intellect, you have to be the one that is transcended. that is outside of the mind to observe the mind. And guess what? We don't have to listen to Sri Ramana say that, because that is our direct fucking experience. You are the observer of your mind. You know this. You just haven't been pointed towards it. You know for a fucking fact that you observe your thoughts, that you observe your emotions, that you observe your body. You get told you are not the body and the mind to detach the heavy identification from it. That's the only reason for that. We have too much of a strong identification with our body and our mind, which is not real because it's not consistent. Only thing consistent about it is that it changes, but it's not persistent and consistent as it always is. It changes. Your thoughts change, your mind change, your body changes. The so-called perceivable world changes because it's of the same nature of the same shit. Prakriti. All right. Sure. So you see how these yogis have plain and simple answers. Bro, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be. The only book that I was reading by these yogis was Agora 2. But if it wasn't for trying to send my ass over there to the Bihar School Book of Yoga, boy, maybe I would have found it in a future day. I can't say, don't know. But nonetheless, Trav pointed a nigga into the direction. And that's why I fuck with them. They like, straight to the point. Straight to the point. And these that Dwayden teachers, straight to the point. Ain't none of that pussyfooting around. Don't come over here, pussy. Don't come over here with that lukewarm shit. Depending on how I feel, I might cut you. Hold on, what you talking about, Trav? I think that's a direct result of studying this information. It must be something I said. I missed it. You learn so much in a certain way because there becomes a certain point where there's no point to make things complicated. Facts. There comes a certain point where there's no need to. You ain't gotta know what's XYZ equals 7.32 gigahertz. You ain't gotta know that. You ain't gotta get that deep. You just make this shit simple. But simple is so hard. Simple is so hard. It's so simple that it's so hard for the mind to accept it. Just we'll be looking like these yogis by the time we old. Facts. Sarah Pig said the intellect should go right out the door. He said that's what I mean by about the why. It's not sufficient. It's not sufficient. I get okay. I got you. Patterns, man. Fucking patterns. All right, y'all, come on. Creation is explained. Oh, look, here goes the word sufficient again. Creation is explained sufficiently or logically to one's own satisfaction. But is there any finality about it? Is there any finality about it? Such explanations are called karma or oh, that wasn't karma. It was krama, shristi, gradual creation. On the other hand, dristi shristi, some simultaneous creation is yogapatat shristi. Without the seer, there are no objects to be seen. Find the seer, and the creation is comprised in him. Why look outward and go on explaining the phenomenon which are endless? Let's read this again. Creation is explained scientifically, not sufficiently. Creation is explained scientifically or logically to one's own satisfaction. But there But is there any finality about it? Check this out. Such explanations are called krama shristi, or gradual creation, right? Those logical ones, right? The logical ones are about gradual creation. There's nothing wrong with logic, but y'all get it. On the other hand, dristi shristi, simultaneous creation, is yoga shristi. Without the seer, there are no objects seen. This is your direct experience, though. Remember that. This is your direct experience. Find the seer, and the creation is comprised in him. Why look outward and go on explaining the phenomenon which are endless? Why? Why, my friend? He said, Dead Inside says, Gnostics and morons fell for that Jesus bullshit twice in a row. LOL, LOL, OL. How you doing, Dead Inside? How you doing, Dead Inside? How you doing? Question. I was going to entertain you, but I don't even want to entertain you. The Vedas contain conflicting accounts of cosmology. What Rosa Flame said, name checks out. Like when you can really peep the ego of you can damn near tell somebody's whole psychology, bro. You can really tell somebody's whole psychology within an instant. But it is what it is, bro. Okay, it says the Vedas contain conflicting accounts of cosmology. Ether is said to be the first creation in one place. Vital energy prana in another place. Something else yet in another. Water still in another, and so on. How are these to be reconciled? Do not these impair the credibility of the Vedas? Different strokes for different folks, right? So he said, do these different creations, or do they not contradict the Vedas and make them unofficial? Different seers saw different aspects of the truth at different times, each emphasizing one view. Ain't that just more easier to accept? Like back when I was saying, everybody's right. How come you can't accept everybody being right? And this is what I'm saying. This will tell you where a person's at. Because they can come in and say shit like this. And probably be dead the fuck serious. I was at that point, so I can see. That tells you where a person's at. It's very obvious. Maybe not to them. Not to them. To him who wrote that, he's fucking right. And he's right. Because that's what it is for him. All right. So, let's see where we at. So different seers saw different aspects of truth at different times, each emphasizing one view. Why do you worry about their conflicting statements? Why are you worried about their shit conflicting? The essential aims of the Veda is to teach us the nature of the imperishable Atman, or the self, and show us that we are that. See what I'm saying? See, you can have a doctrine that's pointing you back to you and who you are, and this whole, but still there's gonna be people like, but this can't be true. Look, bro, they saying this. It's like, The whole fucking book is about you learning your true nature and getting pointing you back to that. But you can't help but point out some shit that, oh, this don't make sense. This is stupid. These Gnostics and morons fell for the Jesus trick twice. That's all you getting? Questioner says, I'm satisfied with that portion. Then treat all the rest as arthrivata, auxiliary arguments, or expositions for the sake of the ignorant who seek to trace the genesis of things. Question. I form part of the creation and so remain dependent. I cannot solve the riddle of creation until I become independent. Yet I ask Sri Bhagavan, should he not answer the question for me? Oh, here he goes. Yes, it is Bhagavan that says, become independent and solve the riddle yourself. It is for you to do it. Again, where are you now that you ask this question? He's not asking about his physical location, but you will see. And are you in the world, or is the world within you? You must admit that the world is not perceived in your sleep. In this point, talking about deep sleep. In your sleep, although you cannot deny your existence then. The world appears when you wake up. So where is it? Clearly, the world is your thought. Thoughts are your projections. Please go back and watch my Monitoring Spirits video. Thoughts are your projections. The I is the first created, and then the world. The world is created by the I, which in its turn rises up from the self. Hold up, y'all. What's up, baby? What's up, baby? We on live. We reading on live, baby. And I'll be calling you soon, baby. All right, baby. Trav said that portion was good when he has a question about being dependent. Let's go back to it then. You said, I form part of creation and so remained dependent. I cannot solve the riddle of creation until I become independent. Right? Yet I asked Sri Bhagavan, should he not answer the question for me? Can he not answer the question for me? Here's the answer. Yes, it is Bhagavan that says, become independent and solve the riddle for yourself. It is for you to do. Right? Right, Trav. Because it illustrates how perspective matters. I cannot solve the riddle of creation until I become independent. You have to become independent even of the things that you think you know. You have to become separate from those things. This is why you get, I am not the mind, I am not the body. That's an aspect of that as well. Hold up, damn. From the dense planes, we are operating as portion of Prakriti. What is independent? Hold up, operating from the subtle planes. Goddamn, Travis, typing fast. Another statement. It's easy, but it's hard. Facts. Because what we built up patterns, we built up habit of the dependency. That's why I tell people, like, just on some human shit, let me say this. It's a falsity that we think as a human person, thinking that you're independent. I have depended on the man to create this hat, man or woman to create this hat. I have to depended on the man who created this goddamn man or woman who created this. I have depended on the man who's created the cell phone. I have dependent on the man who's created the car, who grows food, who makes clothes. I have dependent on the parents that birth and raise me. I have dependent on other human beings to interact with in the world. So wouldn't it be, I don't know if natural is the right word, but for lack of better terms, wouldn't it be quite natural that we have a dependent nature? Something outside, because that's the way it's perceived, right? That's the way it's perceived. It's perceived that things are coming from the outside. We're dependent on the things from the outside. Let that one sink in. GT says it's simple but not easy. Appreciate you for showing up, GT. I don't know if you've been here before, but we do welcome. I said your example is exactly right. We are dependent on the system of life. We're dependent. So, Trav, are we not still sitting on Prakriti's and Bina's titty? From this level of perception that we're talking about, you're still on Bina's breast. Yeah, independent is a big myth. We ain't nothing but dependents around this motherfucker. We ain't nothing but some dependents around this motherfucker. Motherfuckers filing us on their taxes. Prakriti Bina is filing us on a goddamn taxes. Or if you're Egyptian, goddamn it, a Kemetic, goddamn it, Mayat. Still got we on Mayat titty. That is, what do you think Heru was doing on the breast of Mayat? Until he became dependent, independent. Look at that all-seeing eye looking at you. Operating from the subtle lip realms. I don't operate from that level. Imagination first. Yes, Prakriti. We must expand from the child to daddy. Didn't you hear me speak? We all is one. Man, that's a fact, bro. Males don't want to do that on a dense plane, let alone the subtle plane. Man, come on. I'm that baby's pappy. I'm the pappy. I'm the pappy. All right, y'all, come on. We got 3 more pages. We ain't got nowhere. Let's go. Again, where are you now that you asked that question? Are you in the world, or is this world within you? You must admit that the world is not perceived in your sleep or your deep sleep, although you cannot deny your existence then. The world appears when you wake up. So where is it? Clearly, the world is your thought. Thoughts are your projections. The I is the first created, then the world. The world is created by the I, which in its turn rises up from the self. The riddle of the creation of the world is thus solved if you solve the creation of the I. So I say, find yourself. We could end it right there. Good night. Thank you for coming out. We could end that shit right there. Again, does the world come and ask you, why do I exist? Think about that. Has the world ever came and asked you, why do I exist? How was I created? It is you who asks the question. The questioner must establish the relationship between the world and himself. He must admit that the world is his own imagination. Who imagines it? Let him find the I and the self. Moreover, all the scientific and theological explanations do not harmonize. The diversities in such theories clearly show the uselessness of seeking such explanations. Such explanations are purely mental or intellectual and nothing more. God damn, you went in on that one. Still, all of them are true. See the little paradox? There go to your little paradox. Still, all of them are true according to the standpoint of the individual. Everybody's right. There is no creation in the state of realization. When one sees the world, one does not see oneself. When one sees the self, the world is not seen. So see the self and realize there has been no creation. Question: Brahman is real. The word Jagat is an illusion. Is the stock phrase of Sri Shankarya. Yet others say the world is reality, which is true. Both statements are true. They refer to different stages of development and are spoken from different points of view. The aspirant starts with the definition. That which is real exists always. Then he eliminates the world as unreal because what? It is changing. It is changing. The seeker ultimately reaches the self and there finds unity as the prevailing note. The seeker ultimately reaches the self and there finds unity as the prevailing note. Then that which was originally rejected as being unreal is found to be a part of the unity. And that's what I've been telling you. You only getting told not this, not I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not that. Because to find out who you are, you have to find out who you are not first. And really, the only way to describe the self can never be in a positive manner. The only way you can point somebody to the self is in a negative manner by saying it's not that, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that, and it's not this. So it's not the body, it's not the mind, it's not the intellect, it's not the ego, it's not this, and it's not that. You have to strip away the sheaths. You have to remove the coverings. Being absorbed in the reality, the world is also real. There is only being in self-realization, and nothing but being. There's nothing but those two things. There's nothing but that thing. Questioner: Sri Bhagavan often says that the Maya illusion and the reality are the same. How can that be? Do you hear that? He often says that Maya, the illusion, and reality are the same. How could that be? Sankarya was criticized for his views on Maya without being understood. He said that 1, Brahman is real. 2, the universe is unreal. And 3, the universe is Brahman. See the contradictory? But you only get it once you get it. You only get it once you get it. He did not stop at the second because the third explains the other two. You see that? He did not stop at the second because the third explains the other two. Let's read that again up here. Shankarya was criticized for his views on Maya without being understood. He said that Brahman is real. The self is real. The universe is unreal. The universe, Prakriti, is an illusion. And then he followed up and said the universe, which he just said is unreal and false and illusionary, is Brahman. But at the beginning, he said Brahman is real. You see the paradox? Can't be lukewarm, my nigga. It signifies that the universe is real if perceived as the self, and unreal if it is perceived as apart from the self. Hence, Maya and reality are one and the same. All right. So the world is not really illusionary. Let's get to it. At the level of the spiritual seeker, you have got to say that the world is an illusion. Do you hear that? He popped that shit out first. You got to say it's an illusion at the level of a spiritual seeker. There is no other way. When a man forgets that he is Brahman or consciousness or the self, who is real, permanent, and omnipresent, and deludes himself into thinking that he is a body inside the universe, which is filled with bodies that are transitory, and labors under that delusion, you have got to remind him that the word is unreal and a delusion. Did y'all get that? I'm not going to read until somebody tells me that that made sense. Drop a SOP in the chat if that made sense. I'm not going to continue. And I'm going to read that one more time. At the level of a spiritual seeker, you got to say that the world is an illusion. There is no other way. When a man forgets that he is Brahman, who is real, permanent, and omnipresent, and deludes himself into thinking that he is a body in the universe, which is filled with bodies that are transitory, and labors under that delusion, you have got to remind him that the world is unreal and a delusion. We got some SOP. We got some SOPs. Okay, the gang in him. Okay, say less. And he says, why? Why, my nigga? Why? And it's going to be this right here. What Don Tree just said. Why? Because his vision, which has forgotten its own self, is dwelling in the external material universe. Oh, damn. That's the wrong one. I was trying to put this up. Remembrance. You got to tell him so he can remember. You got to tell him that so he can remember. You got to tell him that so he can remember. Because other than that, he's just going to go off what's apparently in front of his face. Trying to say at the level of the spirit seeker, you got to say that the word is an illusion. So why are we complaining about politics? Facts. I get it, but I don't get it. At this so-called level, it's like, nigga, that, like, what? I ain't got shit to do with shit. I had somebody, I posted some shit. Somebody posted something about Gucci Mane, right? About Gucci Mane being a clone, right? And they got a funny picture, an old funny picture when like he was a teenager. Ugly as hell. But nonetheless, it's like, why would the government take time and money and resources to clone a nigga who was a drug addict, a robber, a murderer, and AKA this and this, this and this and that? Not to just bash him down, but like just using pure logic in this sense. It's like, and I shared it and I'm like, fucking thank you, LOL. Like, thank you. Like, cloning Gucci, motherfucker, I clone 100 million Elon Musks. I clone 100 million goddamn Donald Trumps or some shit, or Charlie Kirks or some shit. And somebody was in the comments with me like, I'm surprised. I wouldn't expect you to say that. I'm like, I'm damn, you must not have been listening to me at all. You don't listen to shit I be saying. I ain't say it like that. But I'm like, damn, you really must have not been listening. Because it's somebody I respect, so I wasn't trying to just jump down their throat. I'm like, you know, you must not been listening to me. And my thing was like, I'm saying like, hey, I'm not saying that they didn't clone him. What I'm trying to say, what does that do for us? That's just sending you down a rabbit hole and a loop-de-loop. That's all it does. It don't do nothing for us to know if they clone motherfuckers or if they clone fucking Gucci Mane. Like, remembering when you believe you're separate is a spectacle of an experience. Goddamn, talk that shit, nigga. Talk that shit. Yeah, that Gucci theory, Trav. That's it, bro. That endless amusement. That's OP. That's it. Exactly. All right. So, because his vision, which has forgotten its own self, is dwelling in the external material universe, it will not turn inwards into introspection unless you give him the mental impressions on him that all this external material universe is unreal. Once he realizes his own self, he will know that there is nothing other than his own self. He will come to look upon the whole universe as Brahman. You get told it's an illusion at the beginning stage. You have to. You have to. And you get to this certain point, you have realized, oh, I'm all of this shit. There is no universe without the self. So long as a man does not see the self, which is the origin of all, but looks only at the external world as real and permanent, you have to tell him that all the universe is an illusion. You cannot help it. Take a paper. Take this paper, right? We see only the script, and nobody notices the paper on which the script is written. The paper is there whether the script is on it or not. To those who look upon the script as real, you have to say that it is unreal, an illusion, since it rests upon the paper. The wise man looks upon both the paper and script as one. So also with Brahman and the universe. Beautifully written. Beautifully written. Beautifully written. Question. So the real is real when it is experienced as the self, and unreal when it is seen as separate names and forms. Just as fire is obscured by smoke, the shining light of consciousness is obscured by the assemblage of names and forms in the world. Just as that. I'm trying to say, damn, what's that say about the Constitution? The paper is real, but the script is not. When by compassionate divine grace the mind becomes clear, the nature of the world would be known to be not the illusionary forms, but only the reality. Only those people whose mind are devoid of evil power of Maya, having given up the knowledge of the world and being unattached to it, and having thereby attained the knowledge of the self, shining supreme reality, can correctly know the meaning of the statement. The statement of what? That the world is real. So once you start off in this world, before you get on your spiritual journey, you see the word is real. Once you start your spiritual journey, you see the word as illusionary. Once you get to the end of your spiritual journey, or once you have self-realization, guess what? You back at the beginning again, but from a whole different perspective. Now the word is real again. What I always say, the beginning of the spiritual journey is the same as the end. But the perspective has changed. The identity has changed. This shit is a cold game, nigga. If one's outlook has been transformed to the nature of real knowledge, the world of the five elements, beginning with ether or akasha, will be real, being the supreme reality, which is the nature of knowledge. Let's read that again. If one's outlook has been transformed to the nature of real knowledge, the world of the five elements, beginning with ether or akasha, will be real, being the supreme reality, which is the nature of knowledge. The original state of this empty world, which is bewildering and crowded with many names and many forms, is bliss, which is one. Just as the egg yolk of a multicolored peacock is only one. Know this truth by abiding in the state of the self. God damn, boy. Dropping that shit tonight. I cannot say it is all clear to me. Here's the questioner. I cannot say it's all clear to me. Is the world that is seen, felt, and sensed by us in so many ways something like a dream or an illusion? Here we go again. There is no alternative for you but to accept the world as unreal if you are seeking the truth and the truth alone. Like, listen, nigga, I didn't explain this shit. There's no alternative. Either you're gonna accept it as it's unreal if you're seeking the truth. That's it. That's what you got to do. If you ain't gonna do that, holla at you. Question: why so? For the simple reason that unless you give up the idea that the world is real, your mind will always be after it. Your mind will always be trying to acquire the world. If you take the appearance to be real, you will never know the real itself, although it is the real one alone that exists. This point is illustrated by the analogy of the snake and the rope. Then we just get to talking about the snake and the rope. In a dimly lit room, you think the rope is a snake. But once you grasp full knowledge, or once it's illuminated, you see that it was only a rope and there was never a snake. But when you thought it was a rope, you were in fear of your life and you tried to figure out ways to catch it. You tried to figure out ways to make a snake boot skin, a snake skin boot. You tried to figure out a way to run from it, escape from it. You tried to figure out a way to conquer your fear of it. But that's because you thought it was a snake, but it really was a rope. Let's go. You may have been deceived into believing that a piece of rope is a snake. While you imagine that the rope is a snake, you cannot see the rope as a rope. The non-existent snake becomes real to you, while the real rope seems wholly non-existent as such. Question: it is easy to accept tentatively that the world is not ultimately real, but it is hard to have the conviction that it is really unreal. Even so, is your dream world real while you are dreaming? Even so, is your dream world real while you are dreaming? So long as the dream lasts, everything you see and feel in it is real. Stop asking all them goddamn questions. What is real, Neo? It comes down to the mind putting itself on a pedestal. Facts. Facts. Cool. Question: is the world no better than a dream? What is wrong with a sense of reality you have while you are dreaming? You may be dreaming of something quite impossible. For instance, having a happy chat with a dead person. Just for a moment, you may doubt in the dream, saying to yourself, was he not dead? But somehow your mind reconciles itself to the dream vision, and the person is as good as alive for the purpose of the dream. In other words, the dream as a dream does not permit you to doubt its reality. It is the same in the waking state. You are unable to doubt the reality of the world which you see while you are awake. He handed it to you on a goddamn platter. How can the mind, which has itself created the world, accept it as unreal? Think about that. Think about that. How can the mind, which has itself created the world, accept it as being unreal? This is what we say when you get to the point of understanding, there's nothing to understand. There is no mind. The mind cannot go there. You're going to have to drop the mind. You're going to have to leave the intellect behind, my niggas. But let's continue. That is the significance of the comparison between the world and the waking state and the dream world. Both are creations of the mind, and so long as the mind is engrossed in either, it finds itself unable to deny their reality. It cannot deny the reality of the dream world while it is dreaming, and it cannot deny the reality of the waking world while while it is awake. If one If, on the contrary, you withdraw your mind completely from the world and turn it within and abide there, that is, if you keep awake always to the self, which is the substratum of all experiences, you will find the world of which you are now aware is just as unreal as the world in which you lived in your dream. Question. I'm going to highlight that. I'll underline it. Something. Question. We see, feel, and sense the world in so many ways. These sensations are the reactions to the objects seen and felt. They are not mental creations as in dreams, which differ not only from person to person, but also with regard to the same person. It is not enough to prove the objective reality. Is that not enough to prove the objective reality of the world? Man, hey man, let's see what he say. All this talk about inconsistencies in dream will arise only now when you are awake. See, you talking all that shit about the dreams, but you ain't saying none of that shit in your dreams. You only saying that in a waking world. So yeah, you can talk shit about the dream world because you wake. But when you in that dream world, I bet your ass get in line. Nigga. While you are dreaming, yo, yo. Can y'all hear me? Am I back? Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, bet. Okay. Yeah, it did go out. My connection did cut out though. Facts, right? You ain't saying none of that shit in the dream. Martha says this questioner needs to chill. All right. While you are dreaming, the dream was perfectly integrated whole. That is to say, if you felt thirsty in a dream, the illusionary drinking of illusionary water quenched your illusionary thirst. But all this was real and not illusionary to you so long as you did not know that the dream itself was illusionary. Similarly, with the waking world, the sensations you now have get co-orientated to give you the impression that the world is real. If, on the contrary, the world is a self-existent reality, this is what you evidently mean by its objectivity. What prevents the world from revealing itself to you in sleep? You do not say you do not exist in your sleep, nigga. You don't say that in your sleep. Question. Neither do I deny the world existence while I am asleep. It has been existing all the while. If during my sleep I did not see it, others who were not asleep saw it. Y'all know how you finna get in with that shit. To say you existed while asleep, was it necessary to call in the evidence of others so as to prove it to you? Why do you seek their evidence now? Those others can tell you of having seen the world during your sleep only when you yourself are awake. They can only tell you that when you are awake. With regard to your own existence, it is different. On waking up, you say you had a sound sleep. And so that and so to that extent you are aware of yourself in the deepest sleep. Whereas you have not the slightest notion of the world existence then. That's what we always talk about, the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep state, right? Even now, while you're awake, it is the world that says I am real, or is it you? Is it the world that says that I am real, or is it you? Question that says, of course I say it, but I say it of the world. Well, then, the world which you say is real is really mocking at you for seeking to prove its reality, while your own reality you are ignorant. While of your own reality you are ignorant. The joke's on you. You want somehow or other to maintain that the word is real. What is the standard of reality? That alone is real, which exists by itself, which reveals itself by itself, and which is eternal and unchanging. We got one more page. Does the world exist by itself? Does the world exist by itself? Was it ever seen without the aid of the mind? That ends it right there. Does the world exist by itself? And can you see the world without the aid of the mind? What's your direct experience? Not what we heard, not some theory. Can you perceive the world without the mind? In sleep, there is neither mind or world. And remember, when he says sleep, he's talking about deep sleep, not just dream sleep, but deep sleep. When the when awake, hold up. When awake, there is the mind and there is the world. What does the inveritable, what the fuck, concomitance mean? I do not know how to say that word. What the fuck is that? Concomitance. The fact of existing or occurring together with something else. So, what does the inveritable fact of existing with something else? What did it say? God damn it! Now I done fucked up the screen. What is the inveritable concomitance? The fact of existing or occurring together with something else. So, what does the invariable of something existing compared to something else mean? You are familiar with the principles of inductive logic, which are considered the very basis of scientific investigation. He's just calling you a logical nigga. Why do you not decide this question of reality of the world in the light of those accepted principles of logic? See, you can't accept that logic, but you can accept that other logic. See how the ego fights back? See how the mind fights back? See how the intellect fights back? That's why I say the intellect and logic will ultimately destroy itself. It has to. Of yourself, you can say, I exist. That is, your existence is not mere existence, it is existence of which you are conscious. Really, it is existence identical with consciousness. Questioner, the world may not be conscious of itself, yet it exists. Consciousness is always self consciousness. Consciousness is always self consciousness. If you are conscious of anything, you are essentially conscious of yourself. Unself conscious existence is a contradiction in terms. Fool, it is no existence at all. It is merely attributed It is merely attributed existence. Whereas true existence, the sat of, like Sat Chidananda, the sat is not an attribute. It is the substance itself. It is the vastu, or the reality. Reality is therefore known as Sat Chit, being in consciousness, and never merely the one to the exclusion of the other. You can't have one without the other. The world neither exists by itself, nor is it conscious of its existence. How can you say that such a world is real? And what is the nature of the world? It is perpetual change, a continuous, interminable flux, a dependent, unself-conscious, ever-changing world cannot be real. Are the names and forms of the world real? You won't find them separate from the substratum. When you try to get at name and form, you will find reality only. Therefore, attain knowledge of which is real for all time. Question: why does the waking state look so real? We see so much on the cinema screen, but it is not real. Nothing is real there except the screen. In the same way, in the waking state, there is nothing but reality, or the substratum. Knowledge of the world is knowledge of the knower of the world. Jagarat Prama is Prama of Jagarat Pramata. Both go away in sleep. All of this shit disappears in deep sleep. You can't deny it. Your direct experience. Question: why do we see such primacy and consistency in the world? It is seen on the count of wrong ideas. When someone says that he took a bath in the same river twice, he is wrong. You hear that? When someone say he took a bath in the same river twice, he is wrong. So there's an error there. You can say that, but technically, no, you didn't. Because when he bathed for the second time, the river is not the same as it was when he bathed for the first time. On looking twice at the brightness of the flame, a man say that he sees the same flame, but the flame is changing every moment. The waking state is like this. The stationary appearance is an error of perception. Oh my God, he is hitting them. Bow. He is wrong. See, it reminds me of She Is Not Yours, Just Your Turn. God damn. It's just your turn. Shit. Prakriti is the feminine. Question: what is the error? Pramata, the knower. How did the knower come? On account of error of perception. In fact, the knower and his misperceptions appear simultaneously. And when the knowledge of the self is attained, they disappear simultaneously. And the way you perceive is based off of your identity. We know this. We know this. We know this. Questioner: from where did the knower and his misinterpretations or misperceptions come from? You hear how he hit him right back with that? He asked, where did the knower and his misperceptions come from? He asked him, who is asking the question? Because that's the answer. Who's asking that question? That's the only way you're going to figure that out. The questioner says, I am. So you know what he's going to tell him. Find out that I, and all your doubts will be solved. Just as in a dream, Just as in a dream, a false knowledge, knower and known rise up. In the waking state, the same process operates. In both states, on knowing this I, you know everything, and nothing remains to be known. In deep sleep, knower, knowledge, and the known are absent. In the same way, the at the time of experiencing the real I, they will not exist. Whatever you see happening in the waking state happens only to the knower. And since the knower is unreal, nothing in fact ever happens. Is the light which gives the I sense identity and knowledge of the world ignorance or chit consciousness? It is only the reflected light of chit that makes the I believe itself different from others. This reflected light of chit or consciousness also makes the I create objects. There must be a surface on which the reflection takes place. That's why we say it's just like a crystal. It's just like a movie theater and a projector. All of this is being reflected on you, the consciousness. It's happening inside of you, the consciousness. Man. Questioner says, what is the surface? Let me highlight all that. What is the surface? Here's your answer. And we're about to end it and call it a night, y'all. It's 212, 212, 21222. Yes, sir. On realization of the self, you will find that the reflection and the service on which, hold up. Let's read that over. Slow down. Let's slow down. Facts, sir, and pick. Facts. On realization of the self, you will find that the reflection and the surface on which it takes place. Listen, on realization of the self, you will find that the reflection and the place do not actually exist, but both of them are one and the same chit. There is the world, which requires location for its existence, and light to make it perceptible. Both rise simultaneously. Therefore, physical existence and perception depend upon the light of the mind, which is reflected from the self. Just as cinema pictures can be made visible by a reflected light, and only in darkness. So also the world pictures are perceptible only by the light of the self reflected in the darkness of avidya, which is ignorance. The world can be seen neither in the utter darkness of ignorance. The world can be seen neither in the utter darkness of ignorance as in deep sleep, nor in the utter light of the self, as in self-realization or samadhi. And that, my friends, will conclude chapter 17. As you can see, chapter 18, we will be getting into reincarnation. Ooh, we get into reincarnation. He said Ramana felt like talking talking that day. Yeah, he definitely felt like talking that day. He ran his yapple. Cool TJ said that chapter was nonsense. Facts. Shit made no sense. Hey man, I enjoyed y'all tonight. This was random, man. Supposed to get my ass back to packing so I can get ready to move this weekend. We'll see how I go with the moving process. If I be able to come back on Sunday, because remember I was supposed to do it last Sunday or yesterday and then get the chance to do it. But nonetheless, man, appreciate you, Travis, showing up. Coop TGS, you showed up, sir, and pick. Mothra showed up. Rose of Flame, Zero showed up. Everybody that showed up, even the Don Tree, and even the motherfuckers who came through and you know, came through to do whatever the fuck they came to do. Thought they was finna thought they was finna do some shit. But we entertain trolls over here. We entertain. And pleasant dreams to you all, man. Big life changes. Big life changes. Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir. This shit changing for me, man. Shit changing. It's a nice scene in this movie that we call life. And as always, man, I appreciate y'all. Good night. I wish some deep sleep upon y'all. And remember, as we always say, no obstacles will apprehend you. There are no obstacles, only opportunities for you to observe. Observe your one sided opinions, observe your thoughts, observe that ego, observe that intellect. You ain't got to beat it up, just observe it. And just by observing it, you see the falsity of it. And your attachment from it drops. And that's the P. Stand on it. Stand on it. What Trav say? As an old man, that deep sleep blessing his for real facts. Blessings to all. Bless to you in the movie, my nose. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Love all. Much love and gratitude to the squad. Love all. SOP. Keep shining, folks. Pleasant surprise. Much love, y'all. We out, man.